food waste that comes out, and we gather up all the food waste into these buckets. And we have a wonderful device called a Rydan, which is basically an Archimedes screw in a very insulated padded box. Take off the hat. We add the food waste into the top of the screw. We then add some wood chips or wood pellets. We've got Composting, and you'll do, for one bucket, you'll do a scoop. And you can see it's very hot, the steam coming out the top. So put the lid back on. And then every time you add some food to the Rydan, you turn it for a couple of minutes. And by the turning of the action, the screw slowly moves and pushes the food waste out, and then it comes out after about a week. It comes out in a very friable, dry, brown form. So this is all stuff that's come out of the Rydan quite recently, and it's, as you can see, it's still got lumps in it, but on the whole it's quite degraded. And anything can go into the Rydan, including cooked food and meat. Not that we have any here. We try to avoid having too much liquid in there. Some liquid can go in, but we want it to come out so it's not dripping wet. Otherwise our whole thing gets smelly and too wet. So for things like coffee, we drain off coffee separately. And things like soup, we make sure we add more wood chip for.
So
that is
go.
stage one. Let's go for a walk. So after the Rydan, we have these 3 specially designed boxes which have lids on, and they're insulated and they keep everything warm, so the heat from the Rydan carries on in here. So we add the buckets from the Rydan to it. Then we add the lid, and it will stay nice and warm. And once we've got one that's full, we leave it for about 2 to 3 months, and then when we come back, the level will have gone from about here to about here, and at which point all the stuff that hasn't fully broken down has broken down much more, and then we start incorporating it into our other phase. So basically this stuff is the end product. It's very nice and crumbly, and it's got a nice organic matter content. So this is what we end up putting on our beds. So, and this is a mixture of the broken down Rydan stuff. So after it's been in there for 3 months, we'll add it in here, and at the same time we add more garden waste to it. We add a lot of organic matter all at once, trying to get the right balance of carbon and nitrogen. And we also incorporate, so from a compost loo behind us, we have a separate thing, and we collect the urine. And so we add some of the urine, which is very high in nitrogen. So we'll go for some broken down food waste, some like grass lawn cuttings, or straw from the chickens and ducks, or like dead plant material that's not a perennial weed. And then we mix it all together into one of these and leave the lid on, and then it gets very hot, and then we drag it all out, turn it around and put it all back in, and within maybe a month we end up with beautiful soil like this. So it's a quick way of getting lots of compost. And these are all different bays for storing different material in the process of building these hot heaps. So this is all dealing with food waste, so not things like perennial weeds which take long to break down or have seeds which could spread. So for our perennial weeds, we do what we call a windrow, and we'll pile it all up into these long strips. And then once they get to a certain height, I mean this one was nearly finished, we cover it in Mypex, like these ones, and weigh it down, and then 2 years later we have soil which we can use, and the seeds are no longer viable and the roots are no longer viable, so it's nice compost. So I think like this one here is almost ready to use.
Oh.
And as you can see, it's just nice crumbly soil. So for us, a compost loo is a very important part of the system. Not only does like a normal flushing toilet use a large amount of water, and it's taking something which is quite a valuable resource for us, the waste from the human body, and taking it away and contaminating it with water and all the rest of those problems. Whilst in reality, those nutrients which the humans haven't used can be very useful back for us in our system. And so this is quite a clever compost toilet system. The toilet itself has a dividing section. So the front part of the compost toilet, as you can see down there, is where all the urine goes. And then all the solid waste goes down the back. And so the idea of the separation of the urine and the solids is that you get, the system doesn't smell. And it's a much drier system because of that. And also, for us, it's much more useful having the urine separate from the solids. So the urine from this toilet gets separated, it goes down a pipe and gets stored in a barrel. And we use the urine to add to our compost bays. And you can also use it directly on plants if you dilute it down 1:10 ratio. Although we're very careful, we wouldn't use the urine on any plant that, for example, was eaten raw or even probably vegetable matter. But it might be used on some of the perennials, fruit bushes, or the fruit trees as a little extra feed for them. They are very safe systems. We generally ask if people are on medication that they don't use a compost toilet, because there can be contaminations like antibiotics, residues can stay in urine. But otherwise, urine itself is sterile, so you can't spread any bacteria through urine, so it doesn't cause any problems that way. And the dry matter, because it will sit there, and whenever you use a compost toilet, we add some wood chip, or wood shavings in this case. So you end up with quite a dry mixture. And once this bay is full, we move on to the next bay, which is currently not in use. And as this one is rotting down, it'll be left for a year. And then after that, we will look and see what level of broken downness it is. I mean, if we feel that it needs breaking down for longer, we will take it away and store it for another year. So then it'll be 2 whole years. At which point it will be unrecognisable as human waste. It would simply be crumbly brown soil. And again, we will use it around the fruit trees and the perennial fruit bushes as an extra feed and a mulch to try and keep the weeds down around the roots. And it's perfect for that. And it's a very nice way of, as I say, cycling of these nutrients. We can use it to feed our own plants, and that's a much better way of doing it.